mo tún gbọ́rọ̀ àgbà dé o.
ẹ jẹ́ tí ẹ gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ àgbà bí ó ṣe lówùrọ̀ ó pẹ́ títí á ṣe lọ́jọ́ alẹ́.
Pre-colonial Nigeria, there was no problem of unemployment. You went to the farm with your father, and when you became an adult, he gave you a hoe, he gave you a cutlass, you knew what to do. My brother here talked about the Oshomalu. The Oshomalu boy will be apprenticed to his parents, and he will take over from there. In other words, what has happened all along until we got ourselves to this situation is that we have gone through a process of development of underdevelopment. We have developed to a point of saturation, and that process has led us to underdevelopment. That's why I describe it as the development of underdevelopment. Now, unemployment as a phenomenon is economically wasteful, because the value of that person who is unemployed is less than zero. It is negative. So it is economically wasteful. Unemployment as an experience is also politically dangerous. Thirdly, unemployment is socially unjustifiable. You cannot justify it. And fourthly, Professor Imakinde, psychologically it is very dehumanizing and very depressing. Now, what is the way out? You have harped on agriculture and a lot of policy instruments and policy structures that can be put in place to harness the potentials in agriculture. Beautiful. But there are some constraints. Until a week ago, I had a sugarcane plantation. And I asked my boy to go and take a look at the farm. He came back and reported that somebody had gone there and cleared all the sugarcane. So I made inquiries. No human being had gone there to clear the sugarcane. They have been eaten up by cattle driven there by the Fulanis. So I have lost that farm. So if we are talking about agriculture, how does a farmer deal with that situation? But can we constrain the Fulani herdsman? The answer is perhaps we cannot. Because the Fulani herdsman has driven his animals into your farm, because up north where he's coming from, there is the problem of desertification. Serious desertification as a result of climate change. So, the problem that we have with the herdsmen down south here today is because of their response to the climate change that has dried up the grassland in the north. So they have to move south where there is grass. Consequently, they destroy your farm, they destroy my farm. How does government manage that kind of situation? Even if we did not have the problem of the Fulanis, now, we cannot, very seriously speaking, depend on rain-fed agriculture. Suppose you have your farm, beautiful, and the rains fail to come. Do you take God to court? Or do you arrest God? So, even if you put your investment there, unless there's moisture, unless there's irrigation the way the Egyptians do it, we will have a problem. So you cannot, even if you, yes, the land is there, beautiful. Everybody wants to farm, fine. If the rains fail to come, what do you do? So the problem of climate change also has to be addressed, and there must be strategies to ensure that where moisture is required on the farm, you have water. Sir, I want to propose to the Dawn Commission a few things that you need to do. I was at the Institute for World Economics somewhere in Germany. And I knew that just like our final year students here in the universities undertake their final year projects, the German students also do the same thing. But when they go for this industrial attachment, the university expects you as a student to take away a problem from the industry where you did your internship. I hope everybody is following. A student goes for 3 months attachment in an industry. When he is leaving that industry, he takes with him or with her a particular problem that that industry has. And then he takes that problem as his final year project. So his lecturer in the university and his supervisor in the factory will collaborate with him and find solutions to that problem. And when he graduates, he then takes that result back to the industry to solve the problem. And already he has already opened a way to get a job for himself or herself. And I want to suggest that Dawn Commission must begin to think of a way of collaborating with the universities in the Southwest. So when students here go on industrial attachment, it must be made compulsory for them to take away a particular problem that they have identified during their 3 months or 4 months stay, that they can research into and take back to that industry to solve the problem of that industry. They will gather experience and they will also be able to open avenues for themselves. That is very, very important. I also want to suggest to the Dawn Commission, this country spends a lot of money in importing sugar, a lot of foreign exchange, particularly in importing glucose. And you know, most of our pharmaceutical companies depend a lot on the use of glucose to manufacture drugs, syrups, and so on for children. And they import this because Nigeria does not produce enough. Nigeria does not produce enough at all. But if you go to Osun State, particularly Odoti local government, that savannah area there has a good piece of land for producing sweet potatoes. And sweet potatoes has a lot of glucose in it. Has a lot of glucose in it. Dawn can mobilize local farmers, students, unemployed graduates to cultivate potatoes. And it doesn't require a lot of moisture. And then all we need to do is small-scale factories to produce sugar, produce carbohydrates, produce glucose, and market to all these pharmaceutical industries in this country. Yes. So that we can generate foreign exchange for our local governments in Osun State or in other states. Secondly, this country spends a lot of foreign exchange on importing starch. Our textiles factories require starch. The security forces require starch. Hospitals require starch. Textile industries, and so on and so forth. Now, if we can produce starch at that level, this country will stop spending foreign exchange in importing starch, which you and I can produce on our farms. All we need to do is produce it on a large scale There's a big market for it. Finally, sir, my experience has shown that the universities and polytechnics that supply the trained manpower does not communicate with the employers of labor. In other words, there is a communication gap between those who use the manpower that we produce and the institutions that produce the manpower. So the users of high-level manpower and the producers don't communicate at all. Yes, I have done some work for the National Universities Commission and the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. There is no communication at all. That is why we go on duplicating courses. There's no curriculum re-engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you a fact. Yes, this country experiences serious graduate unemployment. But I want to tell you today, there's a high unsatisfied demand in the Nigerian economy for hydraulic engineers. I told my kids, if any of them was interested in studying hydraulic engineering, I would say, look, do not go beyond your first degree. Obtain your first degree in hydraulic engineering, sit down at home. Employers will come and beg you. There's a high demand that we cannot meet, and yet about 160 universities in this country, we do not produce even one in 1 year. And yet, the demand is expanding. There's the demand in aviation. There's the demand for hydraulic engineers in marines. There's demand for hydraulic engineers, particularly with the increase in high-rise buildings that are going on. There is a demand in also plastic industries for hydraulic engineers, but we do not produce, this country does not produce one. Wherever you find a hydraulic engineer, he's either a foreigner or a Nigerian that has trained abroad. We do not produce them, and there's a high demand. So this calls for a need for curriculum re-engineering, particularly if we are going to be able to meet the demands for manpower and then solve our problems, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Ẹ tẹ́tí ẹ gbọ́, ọ̀rọ̀ àgbà bí ó ṣe lówùrọ̀.